Want to be aware you are being recorded, and if everyone would please mute. Please mute your mics. Mute them all right there. Boom. All right. I will share my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is give just a quick overview of the presentation that I provided to the board for you. But before I even start that, please remember to sign your time cards and to remind your people. I have probably about 100 direct reports right now, and I can't tell you how many time cards I got on Monday last time. And then I get calls from Nick, and it becomes a little bit harder. So please remind everyone to do their time cards and to get those in. All right, MCCC happenings. It will be going out coming up Monday. We have a student worker, Isabella, who is just doing a bang up job now. She just started this week. So this will be going out on Monday. What I would like is for each of our areas to contribute to this in the future 1 month at a time. And it's not much. All we're looking for is a paragraph on introducing yourselves and how you serve students. That's it. So we also use this to introduce new people. So Damaris, there's you for this issue that will go out on Monday. And congratulations, sir, on your wedding. That is awesome. So we got a picture of you and your lovely bride in there. So congratulations, sir. And just so you all know, Damaris literally got married like the week before he came on a couple weeks ago. So he is a newly married guy. So congratulations there. Also, if you have anything you want students to know, this is where it goes. So the advertisement piece of this goes out every Monday, and the overall article piece goes out once a month on the first Monday of the month. Huge thanks to Joe's team for creating the template for this. And yeah, Joe, I see a question, so go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind folks that if you do want something in this, to try to get it to Scott as early as you can, because our department does review this. We provide the template, and the student or Scott's department, whoever, puts all the stories in, and then we have to review all of them and edit them and proofread them. So the more lead time we have before that Monday, the better, just so that we can make sure it's never late. So yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, and my intent is to start getting this to your team, Joe, a week ahead of time rather than a few days ahead of time or a day. Yeah, we've got a new employee on doing that, so that will help that greatly as well. So thanks to your team on that. All right, keep going forth here. This is the slide from our tutoring center. So they have a WIG, and we are doing a search right now for a director of student success. I will give a update on that forthcoming. But their WIG is to increase the number of tutoring appointments. And so this is part of what Damaris is doing. And Brianna is a part of this, and Beth. So we've got some great people over there doing great work. And you can see how great the work really is. We have thus far, after 4 weeks, 181 students seen in comparison to 87 last year. And this is huge. This tells you the great work they're doing. Over 138 in 2019, which is pre-COVID. So they're destroying pre-COVID numbers right now. And you can really see it over there. You can see the action, the excitement. The students are utilizing that space. This is just great work. So Beth and your team, fantastic work. And thank you for putting that together. All right, so this is our overall fall head count. We are up 11.2% year over year, just under 2% down from pre-COVID numbers. Our summer numbers, we were 46% up. So great work, team. You're just doing outstanding work, and it shows. And this is where it shows number 2 in the state. You guys are number 2 in the state. Tracy, thank you for getting these numbers in. to them, and other schools have fallen a little bit in their final numbers. We are at 11.2%. Lake Michigan, great job to them at 21%, but they really fell during COVID, and also they're pretty much giving free tuition to everyone. They kind of have a promise program that they just started up there, which is fantastic for them. But their numbers are really not apples to oranges comparisons in that regard. So this is fantastic work, and you can just see all of our competing area schools are down in this area. They really we've really excelled, and you really see that effort that you guys are making in several different areas. It's funny, this is the lowest number here for our year-over-year numbers. Our FIDIAC numbers are way up. Huge thanks to Tracy's team in some of this FIDIAC and re-enrollment stuff. Obviously, Valerie, your team has really gone after those Reconnect students and getting them in. I'll have more news on that next week. That's really positive for us. But this retention number it looks like the smallest number up there, but to me, it's the largest number up there, because for the first time in a long time, this number is positive. And this is our goal, right? Our goal is to get students to the finish line and to completion. And so for this number to be positive is just absolutely huge. That's our retention number. So great work, team. And it's fascinating that we're doing this on the student services side. We are becoming more non-traditional. We see more part-time students than we have in the past. That's a product of Reconnect. When we get down into our age, we are becoming older. In fact, we are about 2 years older, 1.7 years older this campus is this fall than last. And this is huge to me. We are doing a better job of serving our residents. And I think a lot of this comes out of Reconnect and frontliners and so forth. But the numbers indicate that we are more in state and more in county. So that's huge. Michelle, I see a new hand that went up.
Yeah, can you, for those of us that aren't as intimately involved in enrollment or came from other schools, what is our definition currently of stop outs? How do we define that?
Stop outs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, are students who have left the college for at least a semester or more.
Okay, it's a semester. Okay.
Yep. And so one of the things that our team has done is really reached back to them. In fact, you guys have advertised towards them as well. But we've really reached back to try to get them back into the college and involved. And that's where I'll have some more news, especially with Reconnect and so forth in the next week. So we've got some interesting things coming out of there. Our college became more diverse. Our minority enrollment increased by just under 16%. And again, I told you that the age increased by 1.7 years. So some great stuff going on. I'll let you guys talk about your own initiatives and stuff that you've been doing. So let's turn it over to Valerie first, and just a quick overview. And I will unshare my screen.
All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I have some short slides. So for the fall semester, we are working with the MCCC Foundation and Disability Services to develop the Project Persist program that will provide emergency funds for students to positively impact retention and graduation. Where we're at so far is Josh has set up a weekly meeting with Chris and myself. So we are now meeting every single week for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to catch up, make sure we're staying on track, get our assignments in order, and that's going well. We've started to draft the policies and procedures for Project Persist. We are exploring the idea of an online intake form, and we are developing a process to record the emergency grant recipients and colleague. Everything that we're doing for this program, we're thinking ahead about the fact that we really want to be able to track the data in a way that will be easy for us to run reports and do analysis so that we can look at the outcomes. And then, of course, when we talk about emergency assistance for students, what we really want, hopefully, is to provide better financial literacy for students. So maybe we won't have as many students needing emergency assistance. So we have started the development of a web page in the financial aid office that's devoted to financial literacy. We've developed a budget worksheet that will be available for students to use. We're in the process of recording a short tutorial video that we'll have posted on the website that will show students how to navigate the financial aid sections of their MyWebPal account. Because what students don't always realize is that when Aleutian developed MyWebPal, the financial aid section, they developed it with financial literacy at the forefront, right? There's so much information out there for students regarding their loan debt and their Pell LEU usage and definitions for them of what's gift aid and what's loans. It's all out there on MyWebPal already. We don't need to recreate it, but what we do need to do is bring awareness to students of what is available to them. We thought that a video that we could put on the website would be more engaging for the students than just writing out a lot of text, right? Because it's a lot nicer, I think, sometimes to be able to view a video and see somebody navigate the screens than it is to just read a really, really long section on what you should be looking for. And then finally, we are registered, my office staff are registered for a financial wellness webinar that is being hosted by NASFA on October 20th. And this webinar is devoted to giving financial aid offices some tools that they need if they're trying to develop a financial literacy program from the ground up. So that's what we've got.
Dr. Culler, you're genuinely a leader in the state in financial aid and just a huge resource, and your work is fantastic. I thank you for that. Tracy, let's go to you next.
Good morning. I don't have anything really new, but I'll go over what we looked at last week. Our numbers will start moving, and I'll have more to report once this winter semester begins, and then again after the semester ends with graduation rates. So we are focusing on increasing retention and completion rates, and some of the projects we'll be working on this semester is our continued outreach to our FIDIAC students. And then we also are going to refine the new course alert system and the recurring degree audit notifications, which should be going out very soon. We are also working on a big project of implementing auto graduation, which will basically allow us to graduate students without them applying. They'll have an opt-out option, but this will definitely increase graduation rates because, believe it or not, there are always students who complete their degrees or certificates and don't apply for them. And then we're also working on a couple of big projects regarding transferability of courses and program articulations, which are part of the strategic plan, but will definitely impact graduation rates. So that's what we will be focusing on.
Excellent. Could you give me an update on how the withdrawal process is going? Are you seeing any problems, so forth?
I haven't ran any numbers yet, but we've ran into a couple of problems with faculty reaching out to us because they've had students who've reached out to them and then haven't actually finished the process with us. So I'm hoping there aren't tons of those students. I have reached out to the students I know about, but that's the only real problem that I've seen so far.
Okay, I'll probably keep asking you that just to keep up on top of it.
Yeah, and I'll run some numbers and see for next week.
Yep. Steve, I see a hand up. And in general, let's try to keep hands to the end, and we'll address questions at the end.
I can ask at the end then.
Okay, let's do that then. And Kevin, I'll come back to you at the end as well. Thank you for attending, sir. All right, Joe.
All right. Share my screen here. Okay, so our big goal for this year is to support the overall goal, which is to increase completions year over year of students. And our goal so then is to increase awareness of student success services offered by the community college. I kind of defined audiences there, but I wanted to get into what we did this week. So when what we're essentially doing is developing a marketing communications plan for our WIG, which makes sense. That's what we do. But it's in a specific area of student success. And really the WIG is the last part of a marketing communications plan, because we're talking, it's like the evaluation portion, right? Like how do we determine we've met our objective? So we've set our objective, which is the goal. And what we did this week was set up our audiences. And then after that, in a communications plan, you go into your messaging strategies for those audiences, and then you go to your overall strategies and tactics, and then your evaluation and your budget. So we're kind of setting this up as a communications plan. So what we did last week, or this week, pardon me, was our staff got together and defined, okay, who is the target audience for our objective, which is to promote this particular area of our website heavily, this tutoring and student success services. And you can see it's really the Student Success Center plus some other things that kind of fit into that area, which we house under Quick Links. So really all the areas that are of the campus that are built for retention of students. So our primary audiences for this campaign will be current students, but then we break those in for messaging purposes. We break those down and say, okay, well, not just current students, all current students should get the same sort of messages. So then you can creatively tackle this a little bit differently. So we might tackle messaging to dual enroll students and direct college students differently than we would traditional students, and differently than adult students. They're at different places in life, so we can cater our creative to those different types of students. And faculty and staff are a key audience, so there'll be a very different set of messages. And then we look at secondary audiences, and these come in when, okay, we could put most of our resources toward those primary audiences, but we do have some secondary audiences we want to reach. We may have some more limited in nature tactics for these, depending on time and effort that we have available. So prospective students, which would be juniors and seniors. High school counselors obviously would be a good one, but then we thought maybe high school principals as well. And then we wanted to look at maybe learning bank employees. There may be some other adult ed opportunities in the county. I'm not sure if Bedford's still doing that, or maybe even Michigan Works we've thought about. So we haven't fleshed that one out, but we do know we want to work with the learning bank on providing them information about these services. And then of course, parents of both current students and future students. So the next step in this will be to develop tactics, one of which will be to really take a look at what we've got here. We've been updating this website for a while. We were intentional about this when we created the website to put all these services in one area. They weren't there in the previous website before the rebuild 2 years ago. So that'll definitely be a tactic to take a look at this, but then you can see how this plays out with different things like print, digital media, social media. How are we going to attack posters, etc.? How are we going to attack getting to these specific audiences? And that's it for me.
And I got to say, your team is above and beyond any marketing team of any college I've been at, because you really are integrated with the college at a whole different level. You are in touch with exactly what we're trying to do, and you bring it right to students. So great work. Chris Gerlach, and I've, as many of you know, I've really kind of been rolling out this process, and now we are bringing student services into the loop and working with them at a different level. And you saw that with the tutoring data and the amazing work that Beth and her team are doing. And Chris Gerlach is doing similar work here. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. When we developed our WIG in the spring, my team consisted of Amy Ackerman and I. We have since welcomed Paula Stanifer to our team, which we're extremely grateful to have her. But Amy and I originally wanted our WIG to be to increase graduation rates for students with disabilities, but then we found out that was the overall division WIG, so we revised our WIG. And so then we decided we would try to have our WIG be providing a live orientation to the student planning module and WebPal to at least 50% of the incoming freshman students that we meet with. And we said by May 2020, because we wanted to hit, the fall, the winter, and for a full year. So we talked about some potential lead measures, providing that orientation to each new student in their initial appointment or their follow-up appointment with us, and providing the written directions, which we've we definitely have been doing that, offering a breakout session during new student orientation. That did not happen in the fall because we didn't have a live in-person new student orientation, but that's definitely something that we're considering for winter if orientation is in person. And then offering WebPal student planning workshops on ground and virtually during the semester. We are in the process of planning that workshop right now. We're hoping to have that right before registration begins on ground, and then also some individual sessions that we're going to target students we were not able to reach in the initial session individually to do either virtually or one-on-one appointments. So target and contact students who have not participated in the individual sessions. We're doing that as well. We also talked through what would be some barriers to these lead measures. Not enough time during an initial appointment to provide the orientation. A lot of people don't know, but our initial appointments with students take minimally an hour. With all the paperwork we're completing with those students for their accommodations and plus the registering for classes, minimally an hour. And sometimes by then our students, they're just looking at you like, oh, I can't take in any more information. So the students' ability to process and comprehend large amounts of information is limited. Often it's due to the effects of the disability. So sometimes it's just not possible for us to do that orientation in that initial session. And then another potential barrier we thought of was, how are we going to determine a system to identify and track the FIDIACs and display it on some type of scoreboard? We have a very rudimentary Excel spreadsheet where we have the student's name, ID number, email address, and it's either yes or no. Did you do the orientation or didn't you do it? One or the other. So right now, with the new students that we've met with for fall, we are at about 60%. So we've been able to do the actual live orientation with about 60% of those students. And again, we're going to have a session coming up where we're hoping to capture more of those. And then just some other things that we considered when we created this are, what are the capabilities of WebPal to input a 4-year academic plan into WebPal for each student, students having issues with logging into WebPal, and then the limitations of sharing equipment during the pandemic. Luckily, Tracy had given us some tablets, so we are trying to utilize those with students so that they can be the ones logging themselves in and actually, navigating through WebPal with our guidance versus us just navigating on our computers and showing them. So those were just some other things we considered when we created our WIG. So that's where we're at.
Great job, Chris. And that actually leads very well into where we're going with this. Next week, we will not have this particular meeting. I will ask that you reserve this time or another to work directly with your teams. I am going to work specifically with the admissions team, and I'm going to ask Chris for you and your team to join me in that, because a lot of what you're doing actually flows over into that orientation process. And huge kudos, by the way, to Peggy for orientation work. And we also have a couple of events coming up in the next couple of weeks that I know she's put a lot of work into. So let's take this off line. I will stop the recording. There we go.